Now.
Why can't you try to be a good woman?
There's nobody cooler than you, Heidi Harris.
You really got me now. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing.
You know what? You got spunk.
Yeah, baby.
I hate spunk.
Heidi Harris
Makes us sick.
Heidi Harris is
Ruining our country, ruining our world.
Some of it's pretty flippin' ridiculous, to tell you the truth.
We're gonna own this nation.
And we're gonna rule the school.
What happens in Vegas gets talked about here.
But she is a typical white person.
The Heidi Harris Show.
If you want change, change Congress.
You can't handle the truth.
Heidi Harris on News Talk 720 KDON, KDWN.
Love you, baby.
Good morning. Glad you are with me. I've held the guys over from the Open Carry Group. Tim Farrell's here, David Stillwell. They are proponents of Open Carry. We are taking your calls at 257-KDW and getting right to them because I got, obviously phones packed. 257. Officer Ray, how you doing?
Hi, Heidi. How are you today?
Good.
Good. Listen, first of all, I speak for me. I don't speak for anybody else, okay? This is Ray talking,
Okay.
not anybody else. And I'd like to bring a common sense approach to this conversation if I could. I am a big proponent of private citizens owning firearms, being able to carry concealed, carry open within reason. You have to understand is when people see someone walking down the street with a firearm in the open, they're going to call the police because they may not be educated, they may not understand, okay? It's going to happen, okay? And we have an obligation when we get and see what's going on. Even if they don't make contact with that individual, we're going to observe. What I have a problem is people posturing and challenging. It's exactly what some of their people are doing. The other day, some of our guys stopped a guy who got a call. Guy's walking down the street carrying an AK-47, okay? When the officers got there, they were being videoed. They're posturing and setting people up, setting up officers to see what they're going to do, okay? There is no reason. We got to bring reasonability into the law. Anytime you have some law or some situation, you have to bring reasonability into it. What would a reasonable man do? A reasonable person would not walk down the street carrying an AK-47 just because you think you can, okay? That's not reasonable, okay? An open carry on a firearm, you have to understand, private property, people can refuse you entry, okay? It's their property. Okay, they don't have to let you in. Just like the casinos don't have to let you in if you're carrying concealed and they find out. It's their property. Like it or not, it's their property. It's their, same thing if you don't want somebody on your property, you don't have to let them on.
Yeah.
That is their property.
Of course.
Public access, yes, still private property.
Let me let them respond to this. Let me let them respond to this real quick. Tim, what would you say to Officer Ray? I heard the story about the guy with the AK-47. You wouldn't defend that, right? Walking down the street with an AK-47 and nobody's supposed to ask him a question?
Well, you can absolutely ask him a question. Like the officer indicated, he can also observe, right? I'm not sure of the facts of that case. That wasn't me, but certainly, carrying an AK-47 may be unusual, but I don't necessarily see anything illegal about it, right? So,
let's bring reasonability into it, sir.
Well, I'm happy to be reasonable with you.
Reason would you need to carry an AK-47 down the street in open carry except to prompt a response from someone?
Well, if I were to speculate, maybe the guy was going to go target shooting and his car was broke down, so he was walking to a friend's house.
I will guarantee you that it was not, especially the area he was in, and there was somebody from his group videoing it intentionally. That's exactly what it was. They were posturing for a response.
Well, like I said, I'm not familiar with the facts of that case. So I can't speculate. But
let me just interject one quick thing here. If you go, you said maybe it's target shooting. If you go into a gun store and you go to where they have the shooting galleries in the back, you're not allowed to walk into the gun store with an AK on your back. You have to have it. You have to have it unloaded. You have to have it in a case. They're going to stop you at the door. Now, it's private property, but the point is, you can't argue the guy was going to go shooting because you're not even allowed to do that in a gun store.
Right, but in response to Officer Ray, the couple of years ago, before the incident with Tim and all that happened, it was considered unreasonable to be walking on the strip with a firearm, and we've made that. The officers, the first couple of times we did it, were very nervous, but now they've grown accustomed to it. Now we get fist bumps from them, and they're like, hey, we appreciate you guys and all that.
But you're not defending, David. You're not going to defend a guy purposely walking down the street with an AK-47. I just don't understand why anybody would do that. You're going to attract attention. Law enforcement, the public's going to get a little shaky. It may be you're right, but you're not going to defend that, are you?
Well, here's the thing: I'm not saying I'm going to walk down the street with an AK-47, but if I was to put myself in that situation today, that's how I felt the first time when I open carried, because on the Attorney General's website it said expect a major confrontation with law enforcement and all that stuff. They've taken all that down since then, but that was the attitude of the highest law officer in the state of Nevada.
Yeah. Officer Ray, go ahead.
So you're avoiding the question. Is it reasonable, especially the fact that they had another person in their group videoing it? You can't tell me that they weren't posturing for a response. Okay, you can defend. It's hard enough to defend someone because we walk around in this city and in the country. There are people that are mentally unstable. And I'm not talking about the people carrying the firearm. I'm talking about just people walking around. Some person takes it upon themselves that they're going to snatch your gun. It happens to police officers all the time. You can probably defend your firearm for being taken within reason, depending on the type of holster you're carrying and how aware of your surroundings you are. But I would tell you, someone grabs for that AK-47, you're in trouble. Okay, there is no reasonability, no reason on God's green earth that you need to be walking down the street with an AK-47 under your arm or over your shoulder, especially when somebody's videoing you. You can't defend that. And I tell people when I'm working, if you're a legally authorized citizen, carry a firearm. I cannot be there 24 hours a day to protect you. Protect yourself, protect your family. I'm all over that, okay?
Well, Officer Ray, I want to respond to you, sir. That 5 years ago, I have a feeling that you probably would have said the same thing about carrying a handgun on the strip.
No, I would not have. If you have a lawful right to do it, and there's reasonability, you're using common sense when you do it, because that's what the Supreme Court does. How would an honest person or a reasonable person act? That's what the standard of the United States Supreme Court goes by when they make their decisions. Okay?
Well, and I know you weren't involved necessarily in the stop that I had on the strip, but there were three officers. There were three officers on the Las Vegas police that would disagree with you. They thought it was completely unreasonable that I was carrying a handgun.
Well, it's an education process, sir. There weren't a lot of people doing it. I mean, the open carry law has been around for years. I've been on the department almost 35 years. It's been around for years.
Absolutely.
But not a lot of people did it. You also have to understand, with that open carry, you also have an immense responsibility. Okay, you don't just pop down the street with a gun strapped to your side.
I appreciate the lesson. I've definitely given it a lot of thought. I wanted to respond to you.
Okay, well, let you start the break. Let me to Officer Ray real quick because I got to take a break. Ray, go ahead.
You don't walk down the street with some nylon holster, then get ripped off your belt, or some sloppy holster that the firearm can't be retained properly. See, a lot of people just do it. They don't think through the process. You have an obligation when you're going to do that to do things properly. Have the right holster, be trained, be aware of your surroundings. It isn't just throw a gun in a holster and pop down the street because you can.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay.
Where have you seen that?
Okay, Officer Ray, I'm going to let you respond when we come back, Tim. Officer Ray, thanks for calling. It's good to talk to you. We will talk soon.
All right.
Appreciate the call. Always good to hear from you. All right. 257-KDW, and the guys will respond when we come back. Okay, Tim, David, we'll let you respond to that. 257-KD, I'm up against the clock. You know, it's how it is. I got to get the traffic in, and they kick my butt. 257-KDWN, I'm Heidi Harris. Here's Mitch Kelly in the KDON. One to that.